The person you want doesn't even remember your name. And it has nothing to do with how you look. There's someone else in the room, less conventionally attractive than you, who gets remembered, gets chosen, gets the attention you've been chasing your entire life. And the gap between you and them isn't genetics. It's a language you were never taught. Most people spend decades trying to be impressive. The ones who actually get desired never try at all. They understand something about human psychology that turns a room into a magnet without saying a single strategic word. And here's the part that's going to sting. What if every piece of advice you've ever gotten about attraction has been training you to repel the exact people you want most? Robert Greene spent years studying history's most magnetic figures. Not the loudest, not the most beautiful, the ones who could rearrange a room's attention just by walking through it. Cleopatra, Casanova, Marilyn Monroe. People who understood dark psychology and power dynamics so deeply they didn't need to chase. They created pull. And today, you're getting the actual architecture behind that pull. Not tricks, not lines. The real psychological structure that makes certain people unforgettable and others invisible. The framework that separates those who get remembered from those who get forgotten before the door even closes behind them. Stick around, because what's coming will permanently change how you see every interaction, every relationship, every room you walk into for the rest of your life. This isn't theory. This is the actual mechanics of desire, and it operates whether you understand it or not. If you want more of this kind of knowledge that most people will never hear, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Trust me, you're going to want every single video. What we're diving into here is the real dark psychology that separates those who control a room from those who get controlled by it. The invisible magnet. Here's the first thing almost nobody understands, and it explains why certain people command a room without effort. Robert Greene calls it outer directed attention. Most people move through the world completely absorbed in themselves. How do I look? What are they thinking of me? Did that comment land wrong? That inward spiral is invisible to nobody. People feel it instantly, even if they can't name it, and it reads as need. Need repels like nothing else in human interaction. The people who seem magnetic do the opposite. Their attention flows outward, onto the person in front of them, completely. Think about the last time someone made you feel like you were the only person in the room. Not performing interest, actually present. That feeling is rare enough that people remember it for years. They remember how you made them feel. They remember that sensation of being fully seen. And they chase that feeling with other people for the rest of their lives. Picture two people at the same party. One is scanning the room while you talk, half listening, mentally rehearsing what they'll say next, already calculating who else they should talk to. The other locks in completely, asks a real follow-up question, lets a silence sit instead of rushing to fill it with nervous chatter. You already know which one people gravitate toward. It isn't close. It's not even a question. To apply this, catch yourself the next time you're in a conversation and notice where your attention actually is. Is it on them or on how you're coming across? Redirect it outward, fully, onto the other person, and watch how quickly the dynamic shifts. The energy in the room changes. People respond differently to you. And here's how you protect yourself from someone using this on you. Outer directed attention feels incredible, and that's exactly why it's such a powerful tool for psychological manipulation in the wrong hands. Notice if that intense focus disappears the moment you stop being useful or entertaining. Real presence is consistent. Performed presence is a spotlight that only turns on when something's being extracted. This one alone changes how you walk into every room for the rest of your life. Because now you're not asking, how do I seem interesting? You're asking, how present am I actually being? That shift is everything. The charisma code. Wait until you hear this next one, because this is the part almost no one talks about. Charisma isn't a personality trait some people are born with. Robert Greene argued it's a projection, an aura you create by appearing self-contained, operating by your own internal rules instead of everyone else's. Predictable people are comfortable. They're also forgettable. They don't leave impressions. They don't create magnetism. Think about someone in your life who has this quality. They don't over-explain themselves. They don't scramble to justify every decision. They hold a little back, not out of coldness, but because they're not performing for approval. They're not seeking permission. That restraint reads as self-possession, and self-possession is magnetic in a way that eagerness never is. When someone doesn't need your validation, you suddenly want to give it to them just to see if you can break through that composure. Real example. Two coworkers pitch similar ideas in a high-stakes meeting. One rushes through the pitch, apologizing in advance, asking if it's a stupid idea before anyone's even responded, laughing nervously, filling every silence with justifications. The other states the idea plainly, pauses, and lets the silence do the work instead of rescuing it with nervous chatter. Same idea, wildly different reception. The second person's confidence isn't arrogance. It's a quiet statement that they believe in what they're saying, and they don't need everyone to agree immediately. That belief is contagious. To apply this, practice sitting in silence after you say something important instead of immediately filling it. The crazy part is, once you notice this pattern, you'll start seeing it everywhere. In interviews where the calm candidate gets the job. In negotiations where the person who talks less ends up with more. In dating where the person who cares less seems to win. The language without words. Most people completely miss this because we're taught that seduction strategies are about what you say. Robert Greene's entire framework argues the opposite. The real language of attraction is almost entirely nonverbal, and it's operating constantly, whether you're aware of it or not. Posture, eye contact, the pace of your movements, how much space you take up, the deliberateness of your gestures. All of it communicates something long before a single word gets spoken. Research on first impressions shows people form judgments about warmth, confidence, and trustworthiness within seconds of seeing someone, well before any conversation starts. That means the version of you that walks into a room has already been evaluated and partly judged before you've said anything at all. Your body is delivering a message whether you're intentional about it or not. Picture someone walking into a high-stakes pitch meeting with shoulders slightly hunched, eyes flicking toward the panel and away, movements quick and small, fidgeting with their hands. Now picture someone walking in slower, shoulders open and back, making brief, steady eye contact with each person before sitting down, movements purposeful and grounded. Neither one has said a word yet. One has already lost half the room. One has already won some of it back, purely through how their body moved through space. That's the language without words in action. To apply this, slow down. Physically, literally slow down how fast you move, how fast you speak, how quickly you fill silence. Rushed energy reads as anxious energy, no matter what words are attached to it. It communicates that you're running from something internally. When you slow down, you communicate that you're grounded, confident, capable of handling whatever's in front of you. And to protect yourself, understand that confident body language can be performed by people with nothing behind it. Don't let posture alone convince you of someone's character. Watch what happens when the performance would be inconvenient to maintain, in a moment of genuine stress, when nobody important is watching. That's when the real body language emerges. You've been reading this language your entire life without knowing its grammar. Once you learn the grammar, you start noticing exactly what you've been unconsciously responding to for years. The Anti Seducer. Here's the section almost nobody makes, because it's less flattering than talking about what attracts people. Robert Greene spent real time cataloging what actively repels them. And the devastating part? Almost everyone has at least one of these traits without realizing it's quietly working against them in every single interaction they have. The two most lethal anti-seductive patterns are these. First, insecurity that constantly needs reassurance. The person who can't let a compliment land without immediately deflecting it. This dinner is amazing. No, it's not. I definitely overcooked it. You look great today. I'm such a mess. I barely did my hair. That small habit seems humble. It's actually a rejection of connection, a refusal to simply receive something good from another person. Do that enough times, and people stop offering. They learn that their compliments won't land, so they stop trying. Second, self-absorption disguised as conversation. The person who asks how you are but doesn't actually wait for the answer before pivoting back to their own story. Who turns every topic into a version of their experience. Oh, you went to therapy? I had such an interesting experience with my therapist. It happens so subtly people rarely clock it as the pattern it is. But the feeling it creates is unmistakable. Drain. Every interaction feels like you're feeding them energy and they're offering nothing back. To apply this, start noticing your own anti-seductive habits honestly. Do you deflect compliments? Do you turn conversations back to yourself more than you realize? Do you ask questions, but not really listen to answers? Do you apologize for existing in spaces? Small corrections here create outsized shifts in how people experience you. And to protect yourself from being drained by someone else's anti-seductive patterns, notice when a relationship consistently costs you energy rather than restoring it. Notice when you feel smaller after conversations instead of bigger. That's your signal. This changes everything, because most people spend years trying to add charisma on top of anti-seductive habits instead of simply removing what's quietly repelling people in the first place. Subtraction beats addition almost every time. The art of absence. This is the part that flips everything you think you know about getting someone's attention. Robert Greene's most counterintuitive idea might be this. Presence creates comfort. Comfort is nice, but absence, the right kind, at the right moment, creates desire in a way constant presence never can. Human nature is wired to want more of what suddenly isn't guaranteed. We chase what we can't have. We take for granted what's always available. Here's a real-world version that most people experience. Two people are equally interested in someone new. One texts back within seconds every time, rearranges plans to be available, makes their interest completely obvious immediately, tries to spend as much time as possible. The other responds warmly, but not instantly, maintains a full life the other person can see happening around them. Lets interest show through consistency over time rather than urgency in the moment. The second person isn't playing games or being cold. They're demonstrating, without saying it outright, that their attention is valuable precisely because it isn't unlimited. But here's where it gets even more intense. This principle doesn't just apply to dating. Watch it play out at work. The colleague who's always available, always says yes, always drops everything becomes background noise. The one who maintains clear boundaries, whose time feels finite, gets treated as more valuable even when their actual output is identical. The one who seems busy gets more respect than the one who seems empty. To apply this, don't disappear as a manipulation tactic. That's transparent and it backfires. Build an actual life full enough that your attention is genuinely, not performatively, limited. Have hobbies, goals, friendships, projects that matter to you. Let people see you engaged in your own life. And to protect yourself, recognize when someone's absence is a calculated strategy rather than a real life. Real scarcity is consistent and explainable. Manufactured scarcity is inconsistent, timed suspiciously well, and disappears the moment you stop chasing it. The realization here should hit hard. The mirror strategy. This is the lesson that separates performers from actual seducers. Every principle we've covered, outer directed attention, the charisma code, nonverbal language, avoiding anti-seductive traits, strategic absence, all of it fails if applied generically to everyone the same way. The mirror strategy is the discipline of studying the specific person in front of you closely enough to understand what they actually want, rather than what you assume everyone wants. Most people approach attraction like a script. The same lines, the same moves, applied identically to every person they meet. Genuine power dynamics come from paying close enough attention to someone that you understand their specific insecurities, their specific desires, the specific kind of attention that would actually land with them. Not what worked on the last person. What works on this person? Real scenario. A woman is dating two men. One brings expensive gifts, takes her to the nicest restaurants, does everything the culture says signals romance. But he never asked what she actually values. The other notices she mentions feeling invisible at work. He asks about her projects, remembers details from 3 conversations ago, offers specific encouragement tied to what she's actually trying to build, not generic compliments. The second man isn't wealthier. He's more accurate. And accuracy reads as intimacy in a way generic charm never achieves. Here's where it gets even more intense. Attention this specific is rare because it requires actually caring about the person in front of you, not just the outcome you want from them. You cannot fake this one for long. Every other principle in this framework can be performed with practice. This one requires real curiosity about another human being, and people can feel the difference between being seen and being worked. The difference is unmistakable. To apply this, slow down enough in every interaction to actually notice the specific person in front of you, their particular humor, their particular fears, what lights them up that wouldn't light up someone else, what they care about that they don't tell most people. Build the habit of listening more carefully than you perform. And to protect yourself from someone using this against you, watch for compliments and attention that feel suspiciously generic, the kind that would work on anyone, dressed up to feel personal. Real attention has specificity that can't be mass-produced. So here's what mastering the art of seduction actually looks like. Not manipulation for its own sake. Understanding human nature clearly enough that you stop accidentally repelling the people you want closest to you. 6 principles. The invisible magnet. The charisma code. The language without words. The Anti Seducer. The art of absence. And the mirror strategy, tying them all together into something cohesive and real. Notice what none of these required. None of them required becoming someone else. What they required was attention, real attention, redirected outward instead of inward, and the discipline to remove what's quietly repelling people before trying to add anything on top of it. Most people get this backwards. They try to be more attractive before they stop being repellent. Robert Greene didn't write a manual for tricking people. He wrote a study of what actually makes people feel drawn to another person, stripped of the polite myths we tell ourselves about attraction being simple, or purely about appearance, or entirely out of our control. It isn't. It's a skill. And like every skill, it can be studied, practiced, and genuinely improved. The person who gets chosen isn't chosen because of luck. They're chosen because they understand this framework and operate within it whether they're conscious of it or not. Here's what I actually want to know, and I need you to be brutally honest about this. Comment which one of these 6 principles exposed something you've been doing wrong without realizing it. The invisible magnet, if you've been scanning rooms instead of being in them. The charisma code, if you've been over-explaining yourself. The anti-seducer, if you just realized you deflect every compliment. The art of absence, if you've been the one chasing constantly. The mirror strategy, if you've been using the same moves on different people. Naming it is the first step to actually changing it. Hit that like button if this shifted how you're going to move through the next room that actually matters to you. And if you're not subscribed, fix that now, because this is exactly the kind of dark psychology and human nature most people never get taught clearly. We'll go even deeper in the next video. See you in the next one.